Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Best of 2022, brought to you by Get Your Geek On. I'm Robert, joined by Aaron and Keith. And on today's episode, we are talking The Batman, which of course stars Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, John Turturro, and Andy Serkis. And then there's several other people, of course, that come in through it. Written and directed by Matt Reeves, came out earlier this year. And I mean, we loved it. That's why we're talking about it. It's one of the best geeky things that came out this year. It's a great movie, and we wanted to highlight it, talk a little bit about why we loved it, and why we want other people to make sure and check it out. Obviously, it's a very popular movie, but there's probably some people out there that haven't had a chance to check it out yet. So we're going to tell you why you need to see it, and we're going to start with Keith. Why did you love The Batman?
Me personally, speaking as an adult that's just looking at the early stages of hitting 40 in a couple of years, I like the fact that the movie was a little more realistic. And like you watch like the Michael Keatons and the Val Kilmer movies, the dude's out all night fighting crime, and then he puts on a tux or a business suit and he's like straight laced, the next day at work. Whereas like him, it makes sense. He's out. He's got like some depression issues. He's even wearing like the mascara, which I think they never covered in any of the other movies. But the next morning, he's not ready to like start the day. He's ready to like be away from any light in there. Maybe eat some breakfast and then just act like a typical like night worker.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who does a night shift and hates everything in the morning. So it's a lot of the aspects like that. That's what I liked about the movie was a little more real. Even like the costume and the uniform, like there was like elements of it that seemed a little more realistic. Where there wasn't like a bottomless pit of gadgets hanging around.
Yeah, it definitely was realistic, and even like the gadgets that we did see, like he had the contacts that like recorded audio and video, and maybe that isn't readily available, but I kind of think that exists somewhere. Some some CIA or somebody, they've got that. The other like little gadgets that he used. I think there are several things that I love about this movie that I had to talk about. Certainly what you talked about, it being grounded, that's part of it. I love the score, man. Just like I'm fully engrossed in this movie, from all the music choices and everything that they did. And then definitely the performances of the actors. I wasn't sold on Zoe Kravitz going into this movie. I haven't been the biggest fan of her other work. And her and Robert Pattinson, their chemistry was just off the charts. They were playing off each other so well. I really enjoyed it. And ultimately, I'm like, Batman has been my guy since I was a kid. I love Batman, right? And there's been lots of different versions of Batman and lots of different movies and shows and things that have been around Batman. And this one really captured something about that character that I don't think has always been captured super well, which is that he's Batman. Bruce Wayne is his alter ego. Like that's the costume he puts on. And at this stage of his life, he's not really putting that costume on. He's just Batman. He's Batman all the time. The movie's called The Batman, and it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes of Batman. So I definitely love that. What about you, Aaron?
I think he's what, like our fifth, sixth Batman we've had in the last like 20 something years. I enjoyed it. I think going into it, we both know I wasn't a fan at first. Then I saw Tenet and I was sold. I was like, you know what? He can play that brooding, that kind of charismatic a little bit, but still dark and kind of twisted character, which is what Batman is. He is very dark. He is twisted. His sense of justice is there, but he's not going to be like Superman, who could be the big blue Boy Scout. It is always going to be that little bit of darkness behind him. And I think I agree with Keith. You kind of got that black mascara. You got that goth look. Like when we're out in the daytime, I don't want to be here. Like I want to be asleep. And that I used to work overnight. So it's like, I don't want to be out and about. I want to be home asleep. And I think that's in the comics, the running joke was Superman is daytime, Batman is nighttime. And it's like, that's what kind of this fulfilled with Batman, is that it is nighttime. It is darker because, well, he is the Dark Knight. He's supposed to be out here doing his thing at nighttime. He doesn't go out during the day fighting crime. And again, I like that we got more of like an in-depth with all the villains too. You know, with going back from the original ones like Michael Keaton and everybody, it was kind of like, oh, here's the villain. You know, he's the bad guy. This is blah blah. Here's what you're dealing with. Penguin had some depth to him in this one. We got Riddler had some depth to him. I mean, everybody had that depth behind him, and I'm like, that is what we need. Like, these characters are full three-dimensional almost, versus just, hey, he's the villain. He's gonna blow up Gotham City because, oh well, that's what they do. No, it's like, hey, that's this. They're twisted, and let's face it, the biggest thing with Batman and all his villains, which I don't think we saw until maybe Christian Bale in The Dark Knight itself, which is the only one that does it, I think. The psychological side, that they're all just so twisted. They're all suffering from mental illnesses. And that it almost explains why Batman doesn't want to, unlike Punisher wants to kill him, he just wants to put him in rehab. Like, you can be fixed. We can fix you. Not really. But I mean, it plays it up for me to understand why they're putting them in an insane asylum versus like jail and other stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
I think, obviously, and Keith, I'll let you jump in here in just a second, but we all really like this movie. And so after what you say, Keith, I want you then to flow right into maybe what moment or what scene really captured you in this movie. But go ahead, and you were going to respond to Aaron, so do that too.
Well, I was going to say, not only did you get more depth with like some of the villains, but you get some depth of the villains and how some of the good guys got intertwined with it, where there was it wasn't black and white, where it's typical with some of the Batman movies in the past, where where it's good and bad. It's some necessary evils. There's gray, like where some of the villains intertwined with Bruce Wayne's family, and where on face value, on the front it looked good, and then you dig a little bit, it looked bad, and then you dig even more. It in the end, it's they're like his family still, were good people, but they got mixed up with some bad people and couldn't get, got into a hole where they couldn't get out of it. So there was some gray in there, and a little more depth in the writing, and the history of Bruce Wayne and some of the other characters.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. And, that was one thing I really appreciate about this movie. And it is a noir, and it's, peeling back layers as you go. Like we're getting a little bit more with each time. But Keith, so what was the moment watching the movie for the first time that you knew, like, man, I'm in, I love this Batman movie?
Well, I guess so this kind of goes into the where I'm just not a nerd with comic books and and other things like that. I'm also a nerd with like mechanical stuff like space and aviation. And when I heard the Batmobile fire up for the first time and just rev up,
yes.
My wife was giggling at me because I was sitting there going, "Oh, that sounds like a jet engine. It almost sounds like this particular jet engine. He's got a fighter jet engine in the back of that thing." She's like, "Shut up, just whatever." Just so that I mean, there's so many other spots in the movie, but like just me being an aviation and car nerd and stuff like that, that was like another thing goes back to being realistic. Was that sounded like that was more of a realistic Batmobile in a lot of ways. So that would explain why he can tear up everything, and he's got a fighter jet engine in the back of that car and allows him to like jet across the expressway like it's nothing.
For sure. What about you, Aaron? What was the moment that you knew I'm in on this movie?
I think what dragged me into it, and it's again one of the reasons I love The Dark Knight with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger, is you get more of the detective of Batman. I love the tech. I have always loved Batman's tech, because unlike Tony Stark, who's very flamboyant, like here it is, Batman's always like it's a little gadget hidden somewhere that you don't even see the contacts. I love that. I mean, it's subtle. Unless you know what to specifically look for, you'll never know. And again, the detective side, he was investigating a crime and he's going through all that. And that was always what allured me to Batman, because he is the world's greatest detective. He could figure out anyone's identity, whether superhero or supervillain, with just a little time and investigation, which also kind of tells me like the cops kind of suck because they can't figure that stuff out. But yeah, I always enjoyed that. And again, I think between those two things and the suit, again, this was an introductory to Batman. This is like year one almost. he's not wearing anything too fancy. It looks like he's wearing just combat boots he bought off the shelf kind of thing. And it's like, this is a Batman that's still going. And in 5 to 10 years, when he's in, you know, mid-30s or so, he's going to be a force to reckon with. Like, I wouldn't want to mess with him at all.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I enjoyed the movie from the beginning. I loved like the opening, you know, where we're getting kind of the voiceover and he's talking about, you know, he's the vengeance and the shadows and all that stuff. But the moment for me that really solidified it, like I was enjoying the movie, I thought it was good, I was liking it, but the moment that just really elevated this movie, where I said, like, man, this is next level, was the scene that we finally got of the Riddler in prison, confronted by Batman, with that dialogue just back and forth, where, you know, the Riddler is like, we're in this together, you're my bro, and Batman's like, what are you talking about? And definitely that moment where Riddler talks about Bruce Wayne and you see the look in Batman's eyes, where he's like, does he know? It's like, and then, you know, the conversation takes a turn. It's like, no, he doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. But it was like this great moment in the theater where I was like, oh my gosh, Riddler knows Bruce Wayne is Batman. And you could see all the gears turning in Bruce's head too. I just, like, that was the moment where I was like, man, they just nailed this writing, this performances, the acting, like, it's all so good. Yeah, I mean, like, to me, this was, you know, one of the best movies of the year. Geeky or not, it was a really, really great movie. And so that's where I want to, you know, kind of finish up on is, who is this movie for? Do we say, like, this, you have to be a geek, you have to be a Batman fan to enjoy this movie? Or is this, you know, anyone can enjoy this movie as long as you like the style of, you know, noir, kind of slow paced detective stories? Is it for anybody that likes that stuff, or is it only for, you know, the Batman fans? Aaron, we'll go to you first on this
one. As much as I want to say it's for everyone, I still think at the end of the day, the Batman films hit a certain niche, and I think it's for the Batman films or Batman fans, and I think it's more for like the diehard Batman fans sometimes, because again, the detective, it's not all about action and blowing things up. It's the detective work, the, like Keith said, that gray area with the storytelling. I would say maybe some noir people who kind of like those kind of stories would fit in, but I still think it's still going to be for the Batman fans.
What say you, Keith? You agree? Disagree?
I would have to agree with you guys. You know, there's that noir you know, thing to it. I think traditional Batman fans, I think it turned, like, even a lot of people who were like Robert Pattinson haters in the beginning probably changed their tone a little bit. I said I'm going to give the guy a chance. I mean, nobody thought Michael Keaton would do a good job. And I know there's some folks who still to this day don't think Michael Keaton did a great job. But me being a kid that grew up in the 90s, Michael Keaton was my Batman for the longest time, you know, and I'm glad I gave Robert Pattinson a chance. So maybe Batman pulled some Twilight, you know, fans in the process as well. So maybe they would be open to this as an audience.
Yeah. I think the joke that I told Aaron is, you know, we don't know. He might be playing Edward in this movie as well, but the sun never comes out, so we never see him sparkle.
I know.
But I think, yeah, I think for me, this is one of those movies that it felt like this is definitely for noir fans, as we mentioned. This is for detective fans. This is for Batman fans. But it's also for a lot of those people that, you know, have been out here saying, like, you know, superhero fatigue. There's too many superhero movies. There's too many. They're all the same. They're all formula. You know, it's all this stuff. It's like, okay, go watch the Batman, because this is not like the other stuff. It is very different. It takes its time. It's a character study. We're delving into different characters. We're peeling back things that, you know, are gonna surprise you. There's things that you're not gonna know until you watch the whole movie. And so for me, it's got, you know, like the social commentary. I love that, you know, this is a movie where Batman learns a lesson, where he starts out the movie as vengeance, and by the end of the movie, he understands that he has to be more than that. for the city, for the people of Gotham. He can't just be vengeance. He can't just be a blunt instrument. He has to be more than that. So I'm really looking forward to where they go next with this version of Batman. Again, as we've all highlighted, Robert Pattinson did a really great job. I'm excited for Matt Reeves and he to continue to kind of shape this Batman. But those are our thoughts on the Batman, and we thought it was one of the best movies of 2022. We wanted to highlight it in this video series. We want to know what you think. So make sure that you comment down below. Do you agree with us? Do you think we're crazy? Is this the best Batman movie ever? Is it not even in the top 5? It's a crappy Batman movie. I'll go back and watch the Adam West one, which I do love. But we gotta know where you stand on this. So let us know, guys.
Definitely. And don't forget to check everything out at official GYG on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere we're at. Until next time, guys, that's Keith, that's Robert, and I'm Aaron. Stay geeky and get your geek on, guys.
Bye.